Female turtles know exactly where to lay their eggs. It's amazing. But how do they do it? Do they have a map tucked under their shell? Are they following GPS coordinates in their head? Neither of those things. Female turtles know where to go because they have an innate sense of direction, thanks to their genes, their boops, and their bellies. First, let's talk about genetic instinct. Many sea turtle species exhibit something called natal homing. That's where animals return to the exact beach where they were born to lay their own eggs. For sea turtles, this instinct is so strong that scientists believe it's written into their DNA, like it's literally baked into their genes. So a female sea turtle knows instinctively which beaches are suitable for nesting and which ones aren't. But just knowing that a beach is suitable isn't the same thing as being able to find it again. I mean, imagine you grew up on one of these beaches. You leave it to go travel the world, then one day you get the urge to return. How would you do it? Well, if you're a sea turtle, you would follow your nose. Sea turtles can smell really well, which helps them find mates. A male releases a pheromone that females use to locate him in the dark, murky depths. The turtle equivalent of love is in the air, even if you can't see me drawing it. But the chemical signals they use for romance also help them navigate. A sea turtle's sense of smell is so acute, they can distinguish between conspecifics, which means that even if you move continents away from the place you were born, your turtle brain will still be able to sniff out exactly where you started life. And that brings us back to our original question. How do female turtles know where to lay their eggs? Well, it turns out they have a superpower sense. They can sense the Earth's magnetic fields, meaning they basically have a built-in compass. When they hatch, baby turtles crawl toward the sea. Along the way, they take in information about their surroundings, including the magnetic field of the area. Scientists believe that they imprint the magnetic fingerprint of their birthplace, allowing them to navigate back there as adults. In experiments, young green sea turtles were released at different points around the island of Oahu in Hawaii to see if they could find their way back to their natal beach. Sure enough, more than half of the turtles made it back after only 2 months at sea. Since these turtles were too young to have ever seen the mainland, they had to have been using the Earth's magnetic field to guide them home. And they weren't alone. Loggerhead and Kemp's Ridley turtles showed similar navigational abilities in experiments. Each beach has a unique magnetic signature. Think of it kind of like how your fingerprint is unique to you. So by imprinting on the magnetic fingerprint of their birthplace, turtles essentially create a mental note of where they came from, like taking a secret piece of the beach with them wherever they go in the ocean. It's like their very own private turtle navigation system. But even with all that cool tech built into their shells, some turtles need more than just a good sense of direction to find the perfect nesting site. Take, for example, freshwater turtles and terrestrial turtles. They don't rely on the Earth's magnetic field to navigate. Instead, they use their 5 senses to scope out the ideal nesting spot. When choosing a nesting site, they're looking for 4 main things. First, they want somewhere warm. If the temperature isn't warm enough, the eggs won't properly incubate and none of them will hatch. Second, they want to make sure the site isn't too dry or too wet. Just right is best. Third, they want to make sure they're safe from predators. Nesting sites near water are great because most predators prefer to stay far away from humans. People often flock to places that are easy to get to. So, a nesting site that's close to the road and easy for cars to access is usually a less ideal site. Finally, turtles want to find a nice soft patch of soil or sand that's easy to dig in, but won't collapse on top of them. These 4 requirements can vary a bit depending on the species of turtle, but overall, you'll find that they tend to be pretty consistent. In general, turtles are picky about their nesting grounds, and if the conditions aren't quite right, they might just keep on looking. Researchers have observed red-eared sliders choosing and rejecting nests. A total of 78 nests over the course of 12 years. Only 49 of them ended up being used. Most were abandoned. Red-eared sliders are known to abandon a nest if the water table rises too high and they fear that their nest could flood. These turtles are also sensitive to the type of sand they're digging in. Too coarse, and it's hard to excavate. Too fine, and the nest could collapse. Animals rarely have the ability to pick and choose their nesting spots like this. Sometimes it's just where they wind up. For example, painted turtles often end up nesting in areas that aren't their first choice. A study in Ontario found that painted turtles typically preferred to nest in sandy soil. But in the study area, most of the sandy spots were already taken by other animals, like the eastern hognose snake, which makes me wonder, are you listening to me right now? Because I'm giving you tips on how to steal a snake's nest. Please don't do that. Painted turtles didn't always wind up nesting on the ground. One year there was flooding in the area, and many of the turtles wound up nesting underwater in the muck. What's a girl to do? The moral of the story is that sometimes circumstances force animals to improvise when it comes to finding a nest. Most of the time, though, animals like turtles are in charge of picking their nest. And they don't just pick the first suitable location they stumble across. They'll keep looking until they find the perfect spot. For example, female alligators will inspect dozens of potential nest sites before settling down. Sometimes that process takes a lot longer than others. Like in Florida, one female spent 9 days checking out various nesting candidates. Even once she finally settled on a spot, she still wasn't done. She revisited her previous favorite candidate sites several times before giving up on them for good. Females who nest earlier in the season spend more time searching for the perfect spot than females who nest later on. Maybe they're just more impatient as the season goes on. So what does this all mean? Why do turtles care so much about where they lay their eggs? It turns out that a turtle's choice of nesting site can affect the sex of their offspring. Seriously, this is science. The temperature at which turtle eggs incubate determines whether they hatch into males or females. And I know that sounds bananas, but there are a few other species where this happens too. Lots of reptiles use temperature-dependent sex determination, as do some fish, amphibians, and even insects. In turtles, warmer temperatures produce more females, and cooler temperatures produce more males. It's in the turtle's best interest to make sure their eggs are incubated at the right temperature. Too warm, and the eggs could all hatch into females and no males. Too cool, and the eggs could all hatch into males and no females. It's believed that this temperature-dependent sex determination evolved as a way to balance out the sexes, since turtles, like many animals, do better when they have both males and females in their population. Warmer temperatures are becoming more common thanks to climate change, which may cause a global decline in male turtles. We can only hope that someday we'll turn things around. Now I'm going to leave you with one last thought. Some turtles live for more than 100 years, so an individual turtle might nest dozens or even hundreds of times over their lifetime. If a turtle remembers the locations where she successfully nested in the past, it makes sense that she'd return there again and again. After all, if something worked before, why try something new? So some turtles know where to lay their eggs simply by remembering all the times they've done it before.